But yeah, backpack belonging to CEO suspect. CEO shooting suspect is found.
Suspect in the shooting death of the head of one of the nation's.
Have you met anyone IRL who has a good faith critique and not a hater? Yes. The only two people that had good faith critiques, both were around sex work. Both were women, and both IRL were not a hater, but had good faith critiques, and both of them had not disagreements necessarily, but like didn't fully understand what my opinion was around sex work. That's it. I think that's like probably the most. That's probably like the biggest point of contention. Usually is sex work related. This POS is ruining the LeBron dunk compilation, man. What are you talking about? Where can we see your Oxford? Where can we see your Oxford speech? It's going to be on the Oxford Union website, like on a YouTube page, but we haven't. But it hasn't come out yet. It's going to come out in like a week, probably.
Nation's largest health insurers. ABC's Morgan Norwood is here with the latest. Morgan, good morning.
Good morning to you, Whit. Yes, police say the suspect behind that brazen ambush of CEO Brian Thompson earlier this week likely took a bus out of the city, but he left behind a critical piece of evidence, his backpack. And as investigators comb through it for clues, the FBI is joining what's now a nationwide search and offering a $50,000 reward. This morning, the frantic search for the killer behind the assassination-style murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson now turning into a nationwide manhunt. According to sources, investigators believe the suspect escaped New York City, last seen at 6:59 a.m. on Wednesday, riding a bike out of Central Park after the shooting. Police say the suspect hopped into a taxi, headed to a bus station, and made his getaway. Friday, NYPD officers combing Central Park doing a...
I think there's something... I mean, I can't help but love this story because it's like, it's literally everything that I've talked about, like for years, all of it coming together. You have the understandable resentment and anger that massive swaths of the American population feel towards healthcare and towards executives in general that are involved in healthcare. Like the resentment that they feel is palpable. That's number one. So the reception of this story has been genuinely different than the way that the media is covering it. That's number one. Number two, police incompetence. Something that I talk about all the time is police incompetence. The very fact that this multiple billion-dollar, one of the largest standing militaries on the planet force, the NYPD, is so woefully incompetent. And it's not necessarily a bad thing in this circumstance, but it is a bad thing when there are real crimes happening and they're tasked with solving them and they fail to solve them. But like, it is so publicly in display that one of the most effective, supposedly, one of the largest, most effective police departments on the planet that have a submarine, okay? Drones, submarines, an office in Tel Aviv. Like, these guys are so woefully incompetent when they're tasked with finding one singular criminal, okay, supposedly criminal. It's a loaded word, right? That walked up in broad daylight and domed a healthcare CEO and calmly walked away, got on a bike and went into Central Park to lower his 5-star rating down to 0 stars instantly. Central Park is the real life version of spray and pay, okay? That's it. You go in with 5 stars in the Central Park, you come out 0 stars. Okay? Straight up. It's crazy. So, well, I've already talked about a bunch of different things revolving the story, the reception, and how diametrically opposed the mainstream reception or the mainstream coverage of this is in comparison to like what the average moms and dads in the Midwest, like how they feel about it. It's very interesting. It took him 3 days to find the backpack that he dropped. Okay. And for the record, the backpack is like a classic. I feel like the backpack that he used was like a classic everyday carry backpack too. What is the design? It's like a very famous backpack. No, I forget what it's called. Oh yeah, Peak Design. Yeah, it's a everyday backpack from Peak Design. And from what I understand, this is like something that people really love this backpack, okay? By his look. The backpack is, oh my God, the combination and size color is unavailable. Wait, the 30-liter gray is unavailable. It's sold out. It's sold out. The 30-liter everyday backpack from Peak Design is sold out. Wow, that's guerrilla marketing right there, folks. So, that's really interesting. But so basically, it's reselling on eBay for $4K. The jacket is also getting sold out online. Some places also hiking up the prices like 10x. Anyway, that's insane that people watch that and we're like, oh, dude, I love how breathable his windbreaker is. I personally loved the way that he could move in that, the way that he could move in his windbreaker, and how many things he could put in his everyday carry backpack. It's like pretty solid by his look. But yeah, the range of motion. But okay, going back to the earlier point that I was making though, is that like it is pretty funny to see how much the NYPD has dropped the ball on this. It's also kind of interesting how hard they are trying to find him, right? Like there is never this level of involvement for any random person getting murdered in broad daylight. If it was a random person getting murdered in broad daylight, nobody would give a shit. It would not be this big of a deal. So I guess when it's like someone in actual positions, someone in an actual position of power, when they get popped, it's like, whoa, all hands on deck. This is red alert, red alert. We have to do everything we can. This is the one time where we have to work, and they still cannot meet. They still cannot meet the standard necessary. The only law that matters is don't make cops look stupid in public. Yeah. Keeps you cool under pressure. The backpack. I think it's more about the media attention. No, it's not just because of the media attention. The media attention is also interesting, but it's because of the circumstances in which this act unfolded. It's obviously it was obviously the motive of it was obvious. It's a person that was like seemingly had gripes with the way that healthcare works in this country, and it's a perfect story for many different reasons. But I think no matter what, like when a wealthy person is assassinated, yes, cops are going to take that very seriously, as opposed to like a random person getting killed. It is also kind of wild that it took him, like I said, 3 days to find the backpack that he just dropped.
Grid search by drone and on foot, eventually leading them to the suspect's backpack. Now, detectives sifting through it for clues.
That image, that picture of him, and this could be blasted all over the country, and the phone calls are going to be coming in. Someone knows this guy from somewhere.
Police say they believe they now have a clearer timeline of the suspect's steps before the murder, telling ABC News they think the suspect arrived in New York City November 24th, 10 days before the shooting, on a Greyhound bus, boarding somewhere between Atlanta and Washington, D.C. Investigators using facial recognition technology on the only clear images of who they believe to be the suspect, captured during a flirtatious exchange with the hostel clerk who asked him to smile to check his ID.
This is straightforwardly a perfect story, okay? Like, even the very fact that he was like rizzing up the fucking reception person. Now, I don't even know if this person is the real person. This is just what the NYPD is claiming is the real person. We don't even know. And I'm not even like joking when I say that, because I know I've been joking quite a bit about the story where I'm like, oh, that's not him. It could be anybody, you know? And before people say completely different jacket, nobody owns one jacket, chat. Calm down. They identified the wrong guy. Innocent man wrongly identified as Brian Thompson shooter, fearing for his life. I mean, wait, what? No, dude, this is a Daily Mail article about Joey Manorino, who is like a fucking random right-wing Twitter troll who's... It's a bullshit article, chat. Don't get fucking duped, okay? It's Joey Manorino. He's like the classic fucking right-wing dipshit on Twitter.
Which sources say was fake. Authorities also turning to DNA, pulled from items left near the murder scene, including a cell...
Whoa! Hey! Calm down. That's a very different gun. That's a very different gun. That's not... That could be anybody. That could be anybody. It looks like... I wasn't here. I was in the UK. Stop. I was in the UK when this happened. Okay? Totally different gun also. No suppressor. 50K easy.
cell phone, and a smudged fingerprint from a water bottle they say the suspect bought at a Starbucks minutes before the shooting. This video showing the suspect tossing an item in the garbage.
He was methodical and disciplined. I will give this individual that. But everybody makes mistakes, and you got to find those mistakes.
As the search intensifies, police working to determine a motive. Police believe the gunman is a disgruntled ex-employee of UnitedHealthcare or an angry client.
Today, value-based care is the centerpiece of our growth strategy. And
now, other corporations.
I think one of the craziest parts about this is that, like, this dude is still like small fry. Okay. He's not even the top dog. Like, the UnitedHealthcare structure, like, there's a UnitedHealthcare group. Okay. This guy is the CEO of one of the many different tentacles under the UnitedHealthcare group. So, like, he's a low level CEO. He's still fucking not a good guy. Okay. His actions are not great, right? His actions were not great, but it is interesting. It is interesting to think that, like, there are still, less accessible people that are out there. I heard that some pharmacy techs were saying yesterday, no claims were being denied, where it usually is like 30 to 40% getting instantly denied. Yeah. It's a really interesting situation, isn't it? I mean, we saw Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem reverse their decision like overnight to no longer offer coverage to anesthesia over a certain period of time. Like, if you go under with anesthesia for if you go over a predetermined time frame, if you're taking anesthesia for a longer than a predetermined time frame, like, they will not cover it anymore. They said that they weren't going to do that. And then they very quickly reversed that decision. I wonder what happened. And then Kathy Hochul was basically taking credit for it.
And insurance companies on high alert, reassessing security for their senior executives. And investigators are looking into the possibility that the gunman used what's known as a veterinary gun, typically used on farms and ranches. But now that the suspect may have skipped town, they're really leaning on the public for help. Those photos that we've shown are the clearest ones yet, and they are hoping someone out there can recognize him with.
And Morgan, other companies are now taking notice and taking...
He was the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, which is the insurance division that makes up 3/4 of the UHG's revenue.
Action when it comes to security now.
Yeah, this has really shaken up corporate America. We have several companies, insurance companies alike, scrubbing bios of their top executives from their website. Just this morning, we're learning that Centene, it's another major insurer, announced that it's not going to do its in-person investors meeting here in New York City. Instead, they're going to move it virtually. All of this to protect their employees and executives. So again, we've got heightened alert, not just in corporate America, but among these insurance companies.
This ripple effect across the country. Morgan, thank you.
Yeah, a time frame that doctors don't determine either. The insurance would determine it. But that's just how it is in America. That's my point. That's what's so frustrating about it. That is what's so frustrating about this process. And not only that, but also they used AI. UnitedHealthcare started using AI to deny claims. And it skyrocketed the number of denials that they were engaging in. And for the record, even the Deny, Depose, Defend book that everyone is pointing to, like, that book itself is not exactly a great book either. Like, that's a pro healthcare insurance book, but it's so bad. Healthcare in this country is so bad that they even got capitalists who are pro healthcare insurance that are criticizing it. Okay. United CEO Andrew Whitty gave an address to the company today, leaked to me, telling employees we guard against unnecessary care and to tune out the critical noise.
Of negative and in many cases vitriolic media and commentary that has been produced over the last few days, particularly in the social media environment. And I want to reassure you of a few things. Firstly, we are going to continue to make sure that we put patients, consumers, and members first, as we always have done. The mission of this company is truly to make sure that we help the system improve by helping the experience for individuals get better and better. There was nobody who did more to try and advance that mission than Brian Thompson. And there are very few people in the history of the US healthcare industry who had a bigger positive effect on American healthcare than Brian. And we are going to make sure that we not only acknowledge and honour that legacy of Brian, but we will continue. Our role is a critical role, and we make sure that care is safe, appropriate, and it's delivered when people need it. And we guard against the pressures that exist for unsafe care or for unnecessary care to be delivered in a way which makes the whole system too complex and ultimately unsustainable. So we're going to continue to make that case. We will continue to do the work we do. And I have never been more proud of this company and our colleagues and what this company does on behalf of people in need across the country. I encourage you to tune out that critical noise.
Yeah, they're basically changing. They're basically like hiding the board of executives and their names and stuff like that. People have been trying to get their Wikipedia pages deleted. Okay, and it's really interesting that they're this worried. I mean, I guess it's not that crazy to be afraid in this time, but legally, isn't it all public? It's all public information. Yeah, but they could potentially change the laws. I mean, these are very wealthy people. These are very, very wealthy people. These are the people who have a lot of motion. These are the people who can change laws and rules to benefit them and offer themselves privacy. You have to understand, every day in this country, we are a uniquely violent nation, okay? We have a lot of guns in this country. We have an arsenal of weapons readily available for all. And every single day, there is another mass shooting that takes place. And it is so commonplace. This kind of violence is so commonplace in this country that it doesn't even meet the standard of like regular news coverage. This, on the other hand, has made news coverage. And the reason for why it has made news coverage is because this person was acting out the desires, I think, and the resentment that many Americans feel. Okay. I think that's what it is. That's why a lot of people are terrified, because in the aftermath of the shooting, people were like, oh man, you really can't even be safe on these streets. The shooter is the shooter is still at large. And I was like, I'm not a fucking healthcare CEO. What do you mean? I don't think this guy is interested in killing other people, or at least random people. I'm not afraid, I am more afraid of random cops, straight up. Got a push notification to exercise caution because the UnitedHealthcare shooter is still at large. I personally do not feel like I am on the shooter's radar because I am not the CEO of a highly divisive multi-billion-dollar insurance company. Yeah. Warning me about a guy who's out there killing billionaires, like warning a dog about phishing scams. So this is like the Chappelle bit about the LAPD offering protection to him because he was mentioned in Dorner's manifesto. I am not the one who needs protection. Yeah, exactly. So I think this is unique. The commentary that I made, the commentary that I had in the aftermath of the Trump shooting, the first one, is quite similar to this instance. Because in America, in the United States of America, normally when people experience some kind of anger or are having like a mental health episode or something, they often will go and kill the least protected, most marginalized targets. They just go to their school, right? And then they shoot up like a bunch of children or their teachers or something. It's rarely ever directed at someone in a position of power. And that is the norm. And as long as that is the norm, we will never get any changes on gun laws. We will never get any changes that actually protect the average Americans. We're actually used to the average American being slaughtered, butchered, senselessly. But this was a directional act of violence. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people in positions of power are fearful. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people are looking at the media coverage over it and going, I don't feel this way. But one thing that has been quite interesting, is seeing conservatives also exhibiting the same anger that you normally would hear from leftists online, right? Like the reception of this story has been quite interesting. Americans from all different walks of life, from all different kinds of backgrounds, different political ideologies that have all been fucked over directly by the privatized for-profit healthcare structure in this country, also carry the same resentment that the shooter had. And that's precisely the reason why, while right-wingers and mainstream media, both liberals and conservative alike, are trying to maintain this civility aesthetic to say, people are celebrating this, like this is crazy. Normal conservatives, on the other hand, are like, of course people are celebrating this. The fuck are you talking about? Look, people are naturally going to celebrate. This is on r/conservative. This man's death is an allegory for the failure of privatized healthcare as a whole. We can all relate. Prescriptions we can't afford. People we know who have been turned down. Healthcare or treatment due to insurance reasons. I'm a Republican and I'm not going to defend the failure of privatized healthcare. It's an absolute tragedy that people who don't have access to healthcare. I know that sounds like a lib talking point, but this is America. Healthcare should be just as great as the rest of our country. Complicit for over 7 million deaths, 1/3 claim denial rate. UHC being investigated for using algorithms that automatically deny claims. UHC has some of the highest healthcare premiums and costs. All the while, he was a CEO and making over $10 million a year. Also, he was being investigated for fraud, money laundering. This man did not have clean hands. I'm not justifying murder, just stating facts. And in America, healthcare costs are still higher than many countries around the world while providing subpar service compared to said countries. This act of violence, okay, in and of itself, is ripping through the social fabric, right? Because this is vigilante justice, all right? And that's in almost every single circumstance. I wouldn't say unacceptable in every single circumstance, but like that is something that should not exist in a healthy society. We are not living in a healthy society. And the very fact that people are also celebrating this vigilante justice means that there is like very deep-seated and valid resentment that people feel towards these institutions. Understandably. That's it. And it's kind of crazy because like this is unique for the conservatives. And the reason why it's unique for the conservatives is because conservatives love vigilante justice. Their own version of vigilante justice is oftentimes directed at appropriate targets, those without any power whatsoever. Conservatives have celebrated Kyle Rittenhouse. Conservatives have celebrated that old guy that looks like Santa Claus that killed those climate protesters that were blocking traffic. Conservatives celebrated Daniel Perry, who killed in broad daylight in a crowded subway car a black homeless person who was exhibiting a mental health episode. He choked him to death. Conservatives celebrated Daniel Penny. Did I say Perry? Sorry. Daniel Penny, and still do. So this is unique for a lot of conservatives, I would say, because normally this is a person in a position of power. This is a person that is at the top of a reputable institution. Healthcare is important. Normally, you don't hear this kind of sentiment being expressed by conservatives, except as right-wingers try to polarize the subject and hit it from the angles that they're used to try to get their fan base to agree with them, to see this in the way that they see it. Right-wing commentators and mainstream media are failing to get people to be upset at this shooter because I think their personal experience with healthcare is so bad that they are aware of the inconsistency with what a wealthy political commentator like Ben Shapiro is saying. This video, by the way, apparently is sitting at 21,000 dislikes, and how they personally feel. I work in a factory in a deep red state. My coworkers all voted for Trump and wears merch. They were laughing at this incident. It's not just the left. Ben, you're a millionaire. You're on a true blue-collar conservative. You're a rich guy that tries to appeal to working-class Republicans. You don't understand what poor people go through. Why do you pick on the left? This is bipartisan. You're out of touch. Ben, this issue is like a 99% versus the 1%. Your audience is more likely working class conservatives. We get denied health insurance claims and get screwed because we aren't rich like you. Remind me when you said we don't need to retire at 65. I'm glad the comments are giving Ben a reality check. Ben Shapiro is the CEO of his own company, so it makes sense he might see a little of himself as the victim. It ain't just the left. Ben tried to do this as a shocking targeted attack, and the left celebrate. As an independent content creator on the right, obviously, his job is to get people in his audience to say, killing a CEO is inappropriate. Of course. The norms, the civility. You can't kill a person in a position of power. Are you kidding me? The fuck? That's not allowed. Right? And I'm not even saying that you can do that. Okay? I'm not saying that at all. Because I am a humanist. Okay? I don't believe in the death penalty. Ben Shapiro does. I don't. I don't believe in capital punishment. My solutions are, in my opinion, a lot better than whatever the fuck these guys are saying. I personally am a firm and committed believer in universal healthcare. If we had universal healthcare, this kind of resentment would not exist. It's the same principle behind Me Too. Me Too movement was a movement that absolutely swung in the direction of justice, vigilante justice, because the institutions were not doing anything about mass harassment, sexual assaults in the workplace, right? And then as vigilante movements, as is the case with most vigilante movements, it went far. It went too far, and then the pendulum swung back, right? And it's really interesting that Ben, Tim Pool, Matt Walsh have all tried to... Oh, it's at 8.5K dislikes. Sorry, it's not at 19K. Thank you, Little Bear, for showing me how many dislikes it is. The dislikes are still outweighing the likes on the video. But they are trying to spin it, okay? They are trying to spin it as hard as they can. They're trying to spin it as aggressively as they can. Matt Walsh's initial reaction was, oh, it's because they killed a white guy. And the left is celebrating it because it's a white guy. Here it is. The left is outright praising the first-degree murder of a health insurance CEO because he's a white male. If he was the CEO of the same company was a black woman, you would not be seeing any of the gloating and celebration. I hope everyone understands this basic point. There are two videos, dog. One has 20K dislikes. The other one, oh, wait, it does. The evil revolutionary left cheers murder. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. He made two videos on this. It is at 21,000 dislikes. Wow. So Matt Walsh immediately went in, and I noticed this because that other federal agent, what's his face, the Navy intelligence, former Navy intelligence guy, Jack Posobiec, was like, this guy's not a real hitman, right? Like, they were trying to find a way to still criticize the person that shot the CEO, but like do it in a way where they could rally their own base. But their own base was like, no, we like this. We like this a lot. And all this does is make them look like they are out-of-touch charlatans that are directly trying to make divisive commentary on this matter. The left is outright praising the first-degree murder of a health insurance CEO because he's a white male. If he was the CEO of the same company, but it was a black woman, blah, blah, blah. Most people were like, no, yeah, this is the replies to Brian, the CEO, okay? Brian Thompson, the CEO's LinkedIn post from a year ago. Brian Thompson, this seems like a laudable mission, but UnitedHealthcare Group is failing my mother by not providing her basic care to get better and get back to her life. I think a lot of people realize that there is no right-wing identitarian politics in a moment like this, because it's such a clear-cut example of, right and wrong. I saw this. Yeah, I just realized that your entire business model requires us normal folk hate each other. I would say that healthcare is one of the most important issues in this country, one of the most glaringly obvious historic wrongs in this country that continues. And that is precisely the reason why even on fucking LinkedIn, you got other CEOs being like, yo, you suck, dog. You are doing a great job cutting your costs. Not having a single anesthesiologist and network in the entire state of Montana is a great policy to save you money. I'm telling you, man, healthcare and home ownership, like healthcare and housing prices, are the two key things that everyone gets fucked over by. Every single person. If a party was tackling that, they would be running the table permanently. They would have a permanent democratic popular regime. They would have a popular broad mandate. Education is very bad too, but I'm saying, like, in terms of like the top priorities, I think it's healthcare and housing. People are very, very, very angry, understandably, about the situation that is unfolding, about their own material realities. And these guys have gone on for far too long, very clearly cutting across that class consciousness by saying, don't worry about that. Don't worry about healthcare. Look at how these libtards, they hate white men. They hate you because you're white. All they do is they care about trans people. That's all they care about. And I think this kind of divisive narrative does not work in a situation where, like I said, it's a glaringly obvious problem with very real resentment. This proves you right on the take of the Walton family being persecuted and the egg prices going down. Yeah. Remember on Pod Save America, I said, if Kamala Harris came out and said, I am going to arrest the Walton family, and that is how we're going to claw back these egg prices, Americans would be 100% on board. Okay. She doesn't need to go that far, but you have to understand, like people don't care what the solutions are as long as there is a solution to those problems. Do you see what I'm saying? And it's clear. If someone was like, I'm going to arrest every healthcare CEO and we are going to institute some kind of like normal, good healthcare that every other country has, every other comparable nation state has on this planet, people will be like, yeah, no, that's it. That's my shit. I love that. That's assuming the median American knows who the Waltons are. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're misunderstanding the point. I'm using the most extreme example I can use, something that like the Democratic Party is never going to do, but I'm using the most extreme example, something that normally Americans should be fearful of because of a century of Red Scare propaganda. And even then, I think they would still be on board. They would be like, okay, no, I see it. This is not the like solution. Okay. I'm not saying that the solution is like going out and instituting vigilante justice against like random CEOs. The solution is legislative change. But I think that there can't be this much pressure without a pressure valve, okay? You cannot have this much pressure building up, this much resentment building up, and consistently move people's attention away from the real vectors of pressure, real vectors of resentment. And this is a moment where very clearly someone did take vigilante action, right? And people were like, yeah, I don't care about this. This person has like killed my grandmother. I don't give a shit. You cannot hurt tens of millions of Americans in this systematized form of violence, in the words of Engels, this social murder, okay? And then expect people to also lap it up and care about the institutions. This is the same thing that I talked about with Donald Trump winning the election now twice. In 2016, he won because people were like, I'm angry at these institutions. Fuck the establishment. I don't give a shit. Let's blow it up. And that's precisely what happened again. This time around, it happened once more, and people just don't understand it. Donald Trump's like, yeah, we're going to fix your housing prices. How am I going to do that? By deporting 20 million immigrants. I'm going to fix the egg prices. How? Deporting 20 million immigrants. It doesn't even have to make sense for a lot of people. They're just like, okay, I trust this guy. He sees the anger that I feel, and that's his solution. I'm willing to, take a bet. Every post on r/conservative is basically saying open corruption from leadership, unaffordable healthcare, wars and revolutions breaking out worldwide. We really might be hitting a critical point in history. Double the industry standard on claims denials. Eat the rich will start somewhere. Frankly, it's inevitable. You got Republicans talking about eat the rich, man. That's crazy. The entire Republican ideology revolves around defending the rich, and it's failing. It's because all of the divisive ways in which people have been sedated into,
folks, the reason we can
not recognizing who the real villains in society are failing as well. Okay? Where is it? Where is the other video that people were responding to? Did he delete it? Scroll up, second row. Oh, the evil revolutionary left cheers murder.
Have updates in the search.
Yeah. L-Take, I'm glad the comment section noticed. The CEO is actually a criminal. I just realized your entire business model requires us normal folk to hate each other. I don't know why you're trying to keep pushing this as a left issue. It's across the board. Yep, that's it. It's not working. It's not working for the right, the populist right, the so-called populism of the right. It's only the populist right-wing sentiment is only effective if there's no motion on the left. This is why I say if the Democratic Party actually got their fucking shit straight and were truly fighting to fix some of these problems that Americans are facing, the Republicans would not be able to effectively cut out this like anti-trans shit, this anti-immigrant shit. It just wouldn't work because everyone would be like, okay, well, this guy wants to fucking make my healthcare free. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about trans people. I don't care. Yeah, they're weird. They're gross. Who gives a shit? Is the normal attitude that most right-wingers have. They're like, yeah, okay. Is that gonna put more money in my pocket? Is that gonna put food on my table if every single trans person is no longer allowed to compete? All 40 trans people in the entire fucking state, in the entire United States of America won't be able to compete in fucking high school swim meets? Is that gonna give you more money? Is that gonna make healthcare affordable? No. Make no mistake. I think the average American still has a lot of resentment and would still talk about like mass deportations if their fucking Uber Eats order was cold. Okay, make no mistake, that still very much exists. But this is something that they feel. This is something that they experience, and it's very obvious that it's so It's such a significant problem for them that, you know, they're looking at a situation like broad daylight assassination and going, nah, that's actually sick. And we don't even know the actual shooter's motives yet. Like, we don't know for sure what the motives are, right? I've had 2 doctors retire in the past 4 to 5 years because they claimed they were tired of spending the majority of their day arguing with insurance companies about how to care for their patients. One said apparently their accounting degree trumps my medical degree. Everything is denied by default, and hope to frustrate the doctor and patient enough to concede. I don't condone the murder either, but I'm not surprised it happened. I'm dealing with insurance right now and have multiple doctors say I need surgery, and the insurance company still refuses to approve it. Yeah, it's fucked up, man. It's fucked up.
The widening manhunt for the gunman who killed UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. This morning, New York City police say they recovered what they believe is the shooter's backpack in Central Park. That's where the gunman fled after shooting Thompson in front of a hotel in Midtown Manhattan early Wednesday morning. While the backpack may serve as a valuable clue, the search is now expanding well beyond New York City and now includes the FBI and more than 80 police departments nationwide. Allie Bauman has been following the story and joins us now. Allie, good morning.
Good morning, Dana and Michelle. Investigators now believe the gunman left New York on a bus shortly after the shooting. NYPD sources say they have more than 200 images of the person they want to question, but they have not named a suspect or determined a motive. Meanwhile, the shooting and public reaction to it has left some healthcare and business executives rattled. New video obtained by CBS News appears to show the individual who police are calling a person of interest stopping to bend toward a pile of trash on West 55th Street. This video was taken just a few minutes after surveillance footage at a nearby Starbucks shows a hooded and masked man using cash to buy a drink in a power bar. Less than a half hour later, UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson was shot and killed just a few blocks away. Police say the gunman was then seen riding a bike into Central Park before he exits on the Upper West Side without a backpack, and he ditches the bike.
We have him in a taxi cab, and the taxi cab takes him up to 178th Street and Broadway, which, as we know, is a Port Authority bus center. Those buses are interstate buses. That's why we believe he may have left New York City.
Sources tell CBS News the gunman may have boarded a bus that was leaving for Atlanta. On Friday, investigators combed Central Park and found what they believe is the shooter's backpack. And they focused on the Manhattan hostel where they think he stayed and where a surveillance camera captured this image. It's the person they're looking for with his mask down.
There's lots of time left. This is by no...
Again, sorry to spam, but I wanted to add my parents are conservative Christian and they're loving this. My mom has cancer. She definitely feels vindicated. She literally just texted me to say she didn't know if she and my dad would be watching the Daily Wire anymore. Lol. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is a glaringly obvious pressure point for a lot of Americans. They don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't care that, like, this is a system breaking act. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand? I wouldn't say this is like a real class awakening, but at least on this issue, people recognize the harm. They see it. They experience it. They recognize it. They know who's responsible for it. My company, Mayo Clinic, has a literal division of people whose job it is to argue with insurance companies on behalf of doctors because they don't have enough time to argue every single diagnosis or procedure that their patients need. Yeah, all that stuff makes healthcare more expensive in this country, for the record. All of that stuff makes healthcare more expensive, more costly, and shittier overall. Anyway, and the police are desperate. Apparently, NYPD sources say the artificial intelligence is going to play a big role in nailing the idea of the gunman who killed the UnitedHealth CEO. His mask, to point out, didn't totally cover his face. Bone structure was showing through the rest of it. And AI will come up with a pretty clear match, they believe. I think it's very funny that they are using the bunk-ass artificial intelligence. The irony of using AI to capture an assassin who killed a CEO that instituted an AI model with a 90% error rate is fucking fabulous. This is low-key, yet another instance of the enshittification of everything. The profit motives, creating worse outcomes overall. And it's a institution that's tasked with, like, finding this criminal, right? And they're going to fail. It's a failure. The AI system is fundamentally broken. It's only good and working as intended when you are using it to deny insurance claims. It's supposed to be bad. It works as intended with the Lavender program, Israel's targeting program. It works as intended when you're just using that as a plausible deniability to be like, oh, well, our Lavender AI targeting system found all of these people to be Hamas terrorists. AI doesn't work when you are actually trying to hyper target and find a specific individual. It's supposed to be a mechanism that you use to say, oh yeah, to use when you don't actually have to, you know, solve the issue.
No means in any way cold, this trail. This is a hot trail.
Meanwhile, the shooting has reignited national anger with the healthcare industry. Investigators say the words deny, delay, and depose were etched into bullet casings found at the scene, words often used to criticize insurance companies' tactics in rejecting patients' claims.
We're fighting with the insurance company over her dialysis to keep her alive.
In the days after the shooting, social media lit.
Yeah, the story very quickly turned into like the broad public reception and the anger that they feel towards this guy who just got murked and the entire insurance industry. You can't fuck over tens of millions of Americans at the behest of the profit motive for years and years, and then expect people not to respond like this in a moment where there is some semblance of vigilante justice at play. Okay, this requires systematic overhaul. Okay, this requires legitimate change. That's it. And these guys, these institutions, mainstream media, right-wing Republicans, people who maintain the aesthetic posture of civility, people who are desperately trying to frame this as a partisan issue, those people are woefully inequipped. They're underprepared. I don't think they were expecting this groundswell of positive affirmations for a person that did a crime in broad daylight. Americans are very crime brain. They literally will be like, oh, you stole a fucking, you stole a Snickers bar from Target? Like, that's unacceptable. You should get a death penalty. Like, that's the attitude that people normally have. So in a country like that, all of a sudden, Americans are coming out of the woodwork, regardless of political ideology, turning around and saying like, no, this was good. That's how severe the pain is for every American person.
It up with Americans sharing their frustration with insurance providers. A survey taken last year found 12% of claims were denied, up 20% from 2020. While a 2023 survey found nearly 60% of insured adults experienced some issue with their coverage in the previous year.
What's Jenks' attitude on this? Well, I'll tell you, I don't know about Jenks, but Anna Kasparian also hit the classic, like, I can't believe the left is celebrating murder, and then changed her tune real quick. Originally she was like, originally the first day when it came out, I remember reading a tweet from her. When it first happened, I remember reading a tweet from her that was like, something that even Michael from Pennsylvania was yelling about, I think, right? Am I crazy? But she has basically decided, she said this. I mean, this is pretty much the same reaction leftists like him have when a working class woman is stabbed to death at a bus stop by a repeat offender they want roaming in the streets. But she very quickly changed it. Or are we just going to devolve into vigilante justice? Plus, it's useless, counterproductive. That brings no change to healthcare. But then today I saw her. Yeah, first she said, this is how the left is on random working class women being stabbed, which is crazy. I don't think anybody fucking has that kind of attitude, this indifference. Okay. Then she said, responding to someone that said, are you okay with for-profit healthcare? She said, I still have the same views on healthcare. I want single parent. You can hate and condemn our healthcare system or UnitedHealthcare in particular, and also condemn murder. Are we just going to devolve into vigilante justice? If that's what people want, I'd be careful. I thought that was the kind of culture we didn't like. I guess it's okay when you find it righteous, but what comes with severe societal consequences that are worth considering? Plus, it's just useless, counterproductive, really. This brings about no change to healthcare. I get it if you don't feel empathy, but maybe don't overtly be a dick about it. Political positions never win when they're attached to unlikable people. And right now, the left is unlikable. And then she responded to Ben, live your life in such a way that you aren't a socialist leech on the ass of society, reveling in the murder of people who work for companies you don't like. Her attitude is different now. It's not just socialists that feel this way. It's felt across the political spectrum, which might mean you're misidentifying who the leeches are. So it seems like she's changing her rhetoric a little bit. Nobody is buying the media, what the media is saying about this event. Yeah. No, that is what I'm covering right now. Here, this is the. We'll do not. Yeah, we'll look at the broad reception of the assassin as well. But
in the wake of the shooting, some business leaders are looking to increase corporate security. UnitedHealthcare, the company Thompson worked for, removed photos and biographical information of executives from its website. Another health insurance
persona that this individual has taken on. And it has been remarkable, unsettling to watch the public response to what has happened here, and just the kind of caustic reaction to a father, to a human being.
A part of the social media response. I mean, I think, you know, outside of social media, maybe everyone sort of just sees this as a cold-blooded murder. Look, never, if your tweet starts with assassination is bad, but you might want to rethink that tweet, right? I mean,
I don't think people are rethinking those tweets. I think you guys are the people who should be rethinking the way you're covering this if you want to maintain any sort of institutional legitimacy and any sort of broad credibility. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. It's like, that much is clear to me. It's like, this is one of those cases where people are just like, I don't give a fuck. One must examine why people feel that way. You don't have to go out of your way. You don't have to go out of your way to be like, murder is awesome. This is sick. Like, you don't have to say that, right? But I think this requires an in-depth examination as to why people feel this way. I think it requires an in-depth examination as to why many people whose entire job is to basically say all the harm that you're experiencing under this awful processed, serialized form of murder at the behest of the profit motive is actually good, and there's no alternative. Like, all of those people that say things like that on these institutional, all of the people that say like this is completely, you know, all the people that are directly at odds with the way that people feel about it should maybe take a cold, hard look at why they are so obviously on the opposing side of like the broadest subsects of American society. I said this immediately after the shooter shot the healthcare CEO. I'm wondering what a poll would look like. I'm wondering what kind of broad popular support this shooter would get right now if they actually polled it honestly, in an honest way. I feel like he would get overwhelming majority support.
Not know why the CEO of UnitedHealthcare was murdered on Wednesday here on the streets of New York, but some of us have been really surprised by the reaction online. Many have shared their very deep frustration with the health insurance industry.
I've never seen Americans so united on something as I have over the last 24 hours in the comment sections on these news articles about the UnitedHealthcare CEO.
If you think that I didn't need anesthesia to have surgery, you're insane.
I'm having a hard time being empathetic to the situation whatsoever, because this is a billion-dollar company, okay, that denied.
UnitedHealthcare's profit for the last year was $37 billion. Pure profit, $37 billion. 37 with a B, okay? It's fucking crazy!
Has access to people every single day.
And we're fighting with the insurance company over her dialysis to keep her alive.
Having said that, I think that there is something really instructive in seeing how almost gleeful people are about this horrible event. And the truth of the matter is what it tells me is something that we all already know, that Americans have just had it. We have had it.
He speaks for a lot of people there, but this really isn't about this tragedy. The videos of the doctors talking about their frustrations with insurers are from before the shooting.
I had billed $12.
Like, look at this. UnitedHealthcare forecast on December 3rd, profit largely in line with estimates. Forecast adjusted profit for 2025 largely in line with Wall Street estimates. The company sees adjusted profit for the year between 29 shares of the company fell 1%. UnitedHealthcare, akin to its peers, see a demand and surge for healthcare services under the government-backed Medicare plans. This is them talking about privatizing certain aspects of Medicare. We talked about this extensively. Their stock went up, by the way, after the CEO got killed, which is crazy. For 2025, the company sees a revenue between $450 billion and $455 billion, compared with the estimates of $431 billion. The company expects cash flows from operations to range from $32 billion to $33 billion. The stock is down 10%. Oh, it is? I thought it went up after. In the immediate aftermath, I thought it went up. Last tweet on this, but the idea that health insurance providers are greedy and squeezing customers to juice their profits is ridiculous, dangerous rhetoric. UNH's profit margins are 6%. Premiums alone don't even cover the cost of medical and operating costs. Then it shouldn't exist. If it's not profitable at all, then let's just fucking not exist it. Let's just literally end it. Like, what are we doing here? Oh man, we're This is some sort of, am I supposed to assume that for-profit healthcare insurance companies are actually operating at the behest of the population? It's a fucking fake mediator industry that doesn't need to exist. It doesn't exist in so many other places. I hate this idea. Yeah, by the way, that 6% profit margin is $33 billion, which is what's crazy. And yes, the stocks did go up immediately after he got shot. The real reason UnitedHealthcare stock prices spiked after its CEO's murder. They eliminated a redundancy. That's probably why. Civil war is inevitable. Elon Musk, it's not base to kill a CEO. Yeah. Civil war is inevitable and great if it's actually Americans fighting against Americans on, you know, otherwise inconsequential things to those in positions of power. I don't know if Elon actually tweeted that second tweet, by the way. But I do know that him and every other CEO right now is probably shitting in their fucking diapers. I don't think the second tweet is real, for the record. It's not base to kill a CEO. I doubt that he would say that. He knows. He probably recognizes how much motion this has right now. Yeah, I saw him bring his little human shield, his little child to a public appearance. Anyway, what is this? Dear caregivers, you may be aware, I work for a smaller regional health insurance company in the West, and they're losing their shit here too, lol. They got armed security guards, but only the building where the executives are. Where before they only had tasers, and they're asking employees to report suspicious things more intensely. It's beautiful to see the fear. You may be aware of the national news regarding the passing of UnitedHealthcare CEO. See, this is the issue with vigilante justice, though. Okay? The issue with vigilante justice is that, like, it can very quickly turn into unnecessary death and murders of, like, you know, random fucking people that work at private healthcare companies that are just like low-level employees. That's the problem, which is why I still think that the best possible solution in this circumstance is to change the outcome, is to eliminate this fake mediator industry that is unimaginably costly to the American taxpayer. What? Please read my chat logs, please. I'm the girl at Oxford that asked you about sex work. Thank you for being so respectful. Okay. You don't have to spam it. Matt Walsh defended the guy who killed a homeless man while simultaneously condemning people celebrating the CEO's assassination. Couldn't be any more on the fucking nose. Exactly. Because a lot of these Republican commentators, as opposed to like the actual normal, like working class Republicans, they don't mind when it's like, they don't mind when a powerless individual is killed. Some of the most marginalized people in society, they celebrate that shit. But when it's an actually powerful person that is killed, then all hell breaks loose. They're like, oh, this is a complete collapse of the systems. Oh, because they're tasked with defending these people. That's the point. I've never felt more reaffirmed in how correct I am when I said if Democrats actually pick these issues that people feel real, genuine harm around and tackled them, they would be broadly popular. That's it. This is an opportunity for the Democrats. If all you care about is electoral politics, okay, this is it. There's no better indication of how fucking angry people are than Americans who literally operate by the Hammurabi Code normally going, nah, this vigilante assassination was good. Think about how much Americans actually love, you know, punishing criminals. And this is a instance where they are not interested in punishing a criminal who did the fucking worst crime you could do. It's just an assassination in broad daylight. Politicians are so unimaginably disconnected from their constituents and their interests. And not only that, but also so is the media. And this is yet another instance where all of these institutions are like trying to present themselves as civility understanders, norm understanders, institution defenders.
And change for a patient's allergy injection. And they had done an audit and said that they weren't going to cover that bill of $12 and change. I am a doctor and I have no idea why they're able to deny this.
Does anyone else feel like they're having everything denied and need to appeal lately? I mean, I'm talking about joint replacements for a patient with bone-on-bone arthritis needing to get appealed for no reason. Like, what do we do? How can we make this end? I just feel like I'm in this cycle, spending more time dealing with insurance companies than with patients.
Insurance is the largest roadblock to just attaining proper treatment, access to healthcare. And it's just like we're just bleeding money left and right in this healthcare industry. And who is it benefiting? Not benefiting me as a doctor.
The guy's going to get away with the cops seem lost. I mean, ironically enough, a part of the reason why the cops seem lost is because every aspect of American society, including fucking policing, is also crippled by the same profit motive that undermines every institution, because they're using like artificial intelligence and shit. I mean, cops also are just really bad at their jobs in general, and this is yet another instance of them being really bad at their jobs and being bad at their jobs in broad fucking daylight.
It's not benefiting the patient. Who is it actually benefiting?
Wow, here to help us understand why so many people are so very angry is CBS News medical contributor Dr. Celine Gounder. She's editor-at-large for public health at KFF Health News. Really glad to have you here, especially on this particular day. Listen, we can all agree that the system is broken. We all agree on that, but it seems that people are having a hard time separating the broken system for the person. The fact that so many people are gleeful is the word that this has happened to this man just sort of stuns me. How did we get here?
Look, vigilante justice is not okay.
Yeah.
We do have a country of law and order where there are systems to address these issues, which we can talk about more. But look,
if you don't want, it's simple, okay? If you don't want the Me Too movement to like randomly get out of control and start yelling at like people for having like a bad date or whatever, then the systems can't fail victims of sexual assault, okay? And the same goes for this. If you don't want people to release the pressure that they fucking feel, if you don't want vigilante justice, and I don't want vigilante justice, because there is obviously vigilante justice is uncontrolled. Okay, it turns into some of the most damaging aspects of the Cultural Revolution. You know what I mean? It's decentralized. It's primarily focused on revenge. Okay, and it can be its starting point can be an adequate point of anger, okay, a real point of anger, but it never ends in that situation. It never ends with only the appropriate victims, or I mean the appropriate targets, okay. So if you don't want vigilante justice, you have to fix the problems. And I think that a lot of people, a lot of these institutions are so woefully incompetent and are so used to not fixing these issues that it doesn't matter. Yep, Hasan, just remember he's the CEO of his own company. Yeah. I mean, look, I am the CEO of my own company. I'm not. But listen, if I get murked, it's going to be a fucking psychopath, neo-Nazi, very likely, or like a Destiny fan. All right. And I'm going to get murked because of the things I speak on that many of you agree with. It is what it is. If it happens, it happens. Nothing I can do about it. Having said that, okay, I'm not in here to fucking defend the honor and protection of CEOs. I'm not saying that at all. I just want people to have healthcare, man. That's it. CEO of his billionaire father's corporate empire. Yeah, I know. My billionaire father. It's so funny that they claim that my dad is one of the richest people on the planet. Like, my haters are so fucking stupid.
to quote Al Sharpton, the rent is too damn high. Healthcare costs are too damn high. And what we see in this country is that the number one cause of bankruptcy is healthcare-related expenses. According to KFF polling, after groceries, transportation, and rent, healthcare costs are the number one cost of concern to families in this country.
Didn't you say healthcare is what radicalized you in college? Yeah.
And so we've gotten to a point where healthcare is so inaccessible and unaffordable, people are justified in their...
By the way, the rent is too damn high is not Al Sharpton. That's so funny that she said that.
No, you shouldn't go broke trying to live. So the insurance industry can do something about this, can't they?
Well, there are things that can be done. So under President Obama, there was the Affordable Care Act, which helped to expand health insurance. So you had Medicaid, you had the marketplace, then you also have subsidies to make it more affordable to purchase plans on the marketplace. Those were made even more generous during the pandemic. And then those more generous subsidies were extended under the Inflation Reduction Act under President Biden. But we also have other challenges in terms of why are healthcare costs rising. So, you have efforts to extend coverage and make more people have healthcare be available, but prices are going up.
So we're the only country in the developed world that has this struggle, that has this challenge of people seeing the cost of healthcare rising and insurance premiums also rising. There's a recent KFF poll that found a quarter of U.S. adults.
Interesting. Every single person that's sitting on the seat when Bernie Sanders was saying these exact same words portrayed him as a radical. Okay? Portrayed him as a threat. One must ask the question, why? Now they see it? Interesting. I was in an accident at the gym where my front teeth went through my bottom lip and put a hole right below them. I went to the hospital to get my lip glued while scared because this was during COVID. The attending doctor was a bitch the whole time and so rude, and my mom got a bill for $9,000 for that visit because I didn't have insurance. I spent less than 15 minutes in the hospital. The healthcare system cost U.S. taxpayers $49 trillion over the last 10 years. Without the insurance middlemen, it would cost $32 trillion. That's $17 trillion that could have gone to healthcare instead of lining the pockets of insurance company CEOs. The other side of the story is that mediators in the insurance industry are also responsible for the high prices because their interests do not revolve around lowering the actual costs. Their interests revolve around not paying for the actual costs. Okay? That's the other problem. That is precisely the reason why every other comparable OECD nation that actually mass purchases pharmaceuticals in bulk are capable of lowering the fucking prices of healthcare and pharmaceuticals. In America, it was illegal. Barack Obama was the first president that allowed the VA, which is the only, at the time, it was the only close to nationalized form of healthcare, to allow bargaining at the purchase point. He still maintained its illegality for every other fucking, for Medicare and whatnot. Think about that. We are the only country where the government is not allowed to bargain with pharmaceutical corporations at the point of purchase. It's illegal. Think about that. Is he not going to the Streamer Awards? I am, man. I am going. And for the record, it doesn't even make sense. Murder is good. Murder is good. Murder is good. What are you saying, Bjorn AIDS? If I thought murder was good, I would say that this CEO and all healthcare CEOs and the entire healthcare insurance industry is actually perfectly fine. They murder they murder close to 45,000 Americans every year by refusing to cover their healthcare costs, even after they fucking paid for it. So, no, I don't think it's good. Sock them, motherfucker. Yeah, I don't understand how people that come from countries with socialized medicine will still turn around and go, yeah. All jokes aside, it's really fucked up to see so many people on here celebrating murder. No one here is the judge of who deserves to live or die. That's the job of the AI algorithm the insurance company designed to maximize profits on your health. An algorithm with a 90% error rate, by the way. But that's the whole point. You can use AI for shit like that because the entire point is to deny more. That's the whole point. That's where AI thrives. You can't really use AI to actually target an assassin and find them or anything like that.
Say they've skipped or postponed getting the care they need simply because of the cost. So what needs to change?
Well, we have a very different healthcare system from other countries. We have a very piecemeal healthcare system with our coverage, with the way it's delivered. Many other countries have what we call socialized medicine. By the way, Medicare is socialized medicine. Yeah. And even that socialized medicine is the most expensive.
Sheltered Rosebud is like, are we going to talk about Gaza? I spent literally the past week delivering speeches on Gaza. And the one day where I'm back in LA, immediately Sheltered Rosebud was like, can you please start talking about Gaza again? Yeah, take a week off, okay? I'm just going to keep banning Sheltered Rosebud, I think. Over and over again. She's just going to be able to chime in once, get banned for a week, come back, chime in again with the same exact perspective, knowing full well.
In terms of healthcare for the elderly in the world.
You've timed her out for 9 weeks total, by the way. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why she's just like always has to be this way.
There are a lot of different proposals that have been made. So again, going back to the Inflation Reduction Act, negotiating down the price of drugs, giving Medicare the authority to do that. We've already seen one round of price negotiations.
Yeah, chat, you need to stop encouraging her. Like, she thinks she's in the right when you do that.
The incoming administration wants to eliminate the Inflation Reduction Act, at least many of the provisions of that. So whether that will continue, we don't know. We've seen a lot of mergers and acquisitions in the healthcare industry, which means less competition. The Biden administration has really been trying to pursue antitrust suits to block some of these. The Trump administration, the prior administration, tried to make healthcare pricing more.
No, this is not enough, okay? Simply only reducing. This is the same principle behind chucking 2 pennies at a fucking homeless person, okay? Lowering lowering the price of insulin for Medicare only by 2026 is not the fucking broad sweeping change that people are demanding, okay? This kind of incrementalism is not enough. People do not, like, it's great. I'm glad that it's happening, okay? But it's clearly not enough. And it's not even like a why make perfect the enemy of good. Okay? That's what liberalism is all about. Saying, oh, you must not make perfect the enemy of the good. Like, this is a good thing. Yeah, I know. But it's fucking ridiculous when the most consequential, broad sweeping legislative change on this issue has been lowering or limiting the price of insulin to those over the age of 65 to $35 by 2026. Okay? That's crazy. It's like you have a fucking gunshot wound on your chest and they offer you a fucking Band-Aid and they go, well, I covered, I'm covering some of your injuries. Why are you still complaining? You pay for insulin? My friend, Americans pay an insane amount for insulin.
More transparent. That was another way of trying to make things better. It's really going to depend.
Enough. Yeah.
It's not enough. These are all sort of chipping away at a bigger problem.
So we saw the doctors in those clips talk about how it seems like more and more claims are being denied. Are you seeing that? And for people at home whose claims are denied, what can they do?
I'm definitely seeing more claims being denied. And what we're also seeing now is increasing use of AI by the insurance companies to deny claims, and then you have competing AIs being developed by healthcare systems to fight the health insurance AIs. Me as a doctor, I have to spend a lot of time on the phone with various different companies to try to explain why my patient is in the hospital, needs to be in the hospital. If you are finding your claim,
it's kind of insane. People can mention your name and get 40K views easy.
What the hell was that Oxford Union questions? Like, did the whole Destiny Discord just flood the Oxford Union? I mean,
it was Cambridge.
What the fuck? They didn't ask, like, I swear there was like 2 questions about Israel-Palestine. I swear, I'm flabbergasted, guys. What the fuck was that? I mean, he handles himself very well.
Video will be. Why is Hassan speaking to Oxford Union with the kind of shit he says? I know. One must ask the question why all these other like reputable institutions don't feel the same way that you do. My mother's a conservative cancer survivor, but she got very angry at me when I jokingly complimented the deposer. I guess we are just really lucky to not have any really bad experiences with insurance. I think it's good that my haters were out in broad daylight. Daylight is a pretty solid disinfectant on how hysterical some people come across. TikTok audience hates you for some reason. They always say you say stuff you would definitely never say, so I know they've never watched. Yeah, some people on socialist Twitter were calling you a useful idiot. Yeah, it's fine, guys. I think the way that online spaces work is that you can be really echo chambered without even realizing it. It's something that I try to deliberately avoid. It's something that I try to deliberately work against, if that makes sense. It's funny.
It's happening.
Oh, Will just showed up.
Something is definitely happening. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this particular funnel into the alt-right that is informing how the alt-right is reacting to this moment right now. Because despite Ben Shapiro uploading this video, this was their response. And I'll do the image descriptions for this, but yeah, Yeah. So Ben Shapiro uploaded this video, says the evil reactionary left cheers murder in reference to the UnitedHealthcare CEO being gunned down in Midtown Manhattan. But then something happened. And shout out to Wild Geeters on Blue Sky for bringing this up. But these are the responses to Ben Shapiro on his own video. It says, I'm as right as they come. I have as much empathy as he had for those who lost their lives due to not receiving health care. Sorry, Ben, but nobody on either side feels sympathy for this man.
People are cooking Ben Shapiro and everybody else that were like, people are like, dude, I'm right wing, and you're ridiculous for saying this is a left right issue. But anyway, we're not gonna talk about politics because Willard Neff is in the building, looking.
And neither one of us have an outfit.
And looking jacked to the goddamn gills. Okay,
I've been packing it on right now, little boy. You're a skinny boy now. Put those down. Put those twigs down. Put those twigs down.
I still got it.
Bro, we got to talk about your progress photos.
What do you mean?
Man, just make an OnlyFans.
Okay, dude, calm down.
If you're going to show dick on Twitter, just make an OnlyFans,
Well,
bro.
we look kind of good, man.
We look good.
Look at this. Hey. Not bad.
This?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad at all, dude.
Mm-hmm.
God damn. So, Will and I, of course. Hey, Chuck Dies. Thank you for the 50 gifted subs. Level 3. I've tried to achieve. So, here's the thing. Will and I both do not have a red carpet fit.